Vito Corleone may well be the greatest criminal mastermind ever conceived in fiction. The beauty of it is that one doesn't need to be a criminal to learn from his brilliance. Just as Sun Tzu's battlefield tactics from the art of war are applied everywhere today, from prisons to corporate boardrooms, Vito's strategies can similarly be adapted to all facets of life. For instance, one of the deceptively simple yet profoundly sophisticated methods that propelled him to his position is the act of doing favors. His reputation in this regard is such that people from all walks of life seek his help. He assists everyone, rich or poor, influential or insignificant, without discrimination, overcoming any obstacle to resolve their problems. He is like a counterpart to Les Miserables' Jean Valjean in the illicit world. However, there is no philanthropy here. Vito Corleone deeply believes in friendship and in the principle that nothing is gained without giving. Thus, in return for his favors, he expects the recipient to openly declare their loyalty as his friend. This way, when the time comes, Vito can make a request of them.
My friend? Godfather? Good.
Another defining trait of Vito is his humility. He never belittles those he deals with, yet deep down, he does not consider them his equals. He views himself as on par with presidents, prime ministers, or state governors. This is precisely why he refuses to submit to anyone else's authority. He also has no faith in the structure of legitimate society. To him, society fails to protect individuals who lack personal power. Consequently, he believes the legitimate societal system is inherently hypocritical. In Vito's view, everyone has a singular destiny, and his own is to be a don. He developed this conviction during the pivotal years of his life. During that time, Vito was fired from his job as a grocer's apprentice, a consequence of the actions of Fanucci, a local figure known as a mafia member who extorted businesses and profited from illegal activities. Left jobless, Vito soon met Tessio and Clemenza. Together, they carried out a few petty thefts. It wasn't long before His Majesty Fanucci came to claim his share. Note the deliberate use of this phrase. It's a term used by the Cosa Nostra, the Sicilian mafia, to subtly convey to Vito what he represents and the power backing him. Yet observe how Vito maintains his calm and composed demeanor, showing not the slightest hint of anger. To Vito, thoughtless rage, or displaying it, is a dangerous weakness. Issuing threats is nothing more than foolishly exposing oneself. Instead, he employs tactics focused on concealing his strength and misleading his adversaries, much like the principles taught in the art of war. After this encounter, Vito, through analytical thinking, realizes that Fanucci is not the figure he claims to be. Fanucci is no mafia member, just a fraudulent opportunist. Vito arrives at this conclusion by meticulously reviewing everything he knows about him, particularly an incident he witnessed in the past. Once, 3 young men refused to pay Fanucci's extortion and attacked him, slashing his throat in a non-lethal manner to intimidate him. A week later, one of the youths was shot dead. The other 2 paid a hefty sum to be forgiven. Though this event is not shown in the film, note that Fanucci bears the scar from that wound on his throat. This leads Vito to conclude that Fanucci cannot possibly have the powerful connections he boasts of. A true mafia member would never forgo vengeance for a payoff. Vito deduces that one of the youths got lucky, while the other 2 paid to avoid further risk. In other words, Fanucci operates alone, unaffiliated with any mafia organization. He is not untouchable, he merely exaggerates his importance. With Vito, the opposite is true. This realization marks the beginning of Vito's inevitable rise on his chosen path. As control of the neighborhood shifts to Vito, a slew of unemployed men flock to work for him. He designates these new recruits as soldiers and bestows the rank of capo regime or commander on Tessio and Clemenza. His childhood friend Genco is appointed consigliere or advisor. By establishing a cell-like system, Vito relays his orders solely through his consigliere, creating layers or buffer zones between himself and the execution of operations. In organizations managed this way, tracing crimes committed by the lowest rung back to the top becomes impossible. Vito operates like the leader of a nation, building his empire on solid foundations. With a clear plan, he prepares for the empire's future. He never turns away anyone who comes to him for a job or a loan, and he encourages them with kind words, ensuring they don't feel diminished. This approach earns him immense respect among the impoverished Italian community. Naturally, when these people vote in congresses or municipal elections, they consult their godfather, Don Corleone. This is how Vito amasses political power. He even covers the education expenses of bright children from these poor families, enabling them to become prosecutors, judges, or doctors, thereby solidifying his influence. It's akin to the logic of a cult. They too acquire political power in this manner. However, due to a time jump in the film's narrative, we don't see how Vito transforms from a small-time crook into one of the most feared mafia bosses in the country. For example, his clash with Al Capone, which significantly boosts his reputation, occurs during this unshown rise. Their confrontation arises when a New York family, at war with the Corleones, seeks support from their Chicago ally, Al Capone. Capone sends his two best hitmen to kill Vito. Thanks to his formidable intelligence network, Vito learns of the plan in advance and instructs Luca Brasi, the Corleone family's top enforcer, to unleash his full savagery, resulting in the hitmen being torn to pieces.
Well, who is he? What's his name?
His name is Luca Brasi. He helps my father out sometimes.
A few days later, Vito sends Al Capone a meticulously crafted, highly persuasive letter advising him to stay out of the matter. Ultimately, Capone backs down, not because he's shaken by the brutality inflicted on his men, as the Chicago gang is the epitome of savagery and barbarism, but because of Vito's chillingly swift and decisive response. Capone realizes that another move against someone with such robust intelligence and sharp wits could have far graver consequences. It's worth noting that this event occurs during a period when Al Capone, flaunting his illicit wealth and connections, begins to lose political power. In other words, it coincides with the decline of Capone's era. Still, Capone, living at the peak of his ego, deludes himself into believing his power is limitless. Vito makes him understand that this power cannot encroach upon his world. This is another hallmark of Vito. In disputes, he appeals to the logic of his adversaries. This approach is most clearly seen in his meeting with Turk Sollozzo. Incidentally, Sollozzo is called Turk not because of Turkish ancestry. Sollozzo is Italian but lived in Turkey for a long time, even marrying a Turkish woman. Moreover, the production hub for the drugs he traffics is in Turkey. However, to safely distribute them in America, he needs Vito's political connections. On the other hand, accepting this deal would weaken Vito's political clout, as the senators and judges in his pocket are staunchly anti-drug. Thus, as always, Vito presents irrefutable reasons for declining the offer. It is at this moment that Vito's eldest son, Sonny, makes an unforgivable, fatal mistake.
Are you telling me that the Taglia's guarantee our investment?
By asking a question, Sonny reveals, unlike his father, that he is open to the deal. This allows Sollozzo to spot a crack in Vito's fortress. This is precisely why the events of the first Godfather film unfold. Believing he can strike a deal with Sonny, the heir to the empire, Sollozzo orchestrates an assassination attempt on Vito. Yet, despite taking 5 bullets, the Sicilian lion Vito Corleone survives, sparking a war between the Corleones and the New York families, backing Sollozzo. Michael's killing of Turk Sollozzo and the police chief, followed by his escape to Sicily, and Sonny's ambush and murder occur during Vito's absence. When Vito Corleone recovers and resumes leadership of the family, he inherits a losing war. He invites all the New York families to a meeting, a sit-down, to find common ground. This is Vito's rattlesnake-like warning before striking. All his rivals know this invitation is their last chance to avoid a bloodbath. The negotiations conclude with Vito Corleone seemingly backing down by agreeing to enter the drug trade. In reality, with his keen intellect, the Don is devising a long-term strategy. This tactical retreat triggers his entire plan. In essence, the agreement reached at this table is a harbinger of a devastating reckoning to come, led by Michael Corleone. Vito's calculated genius bends chaos to his will, but what if control gives way to pure, unrelenting terror? Could a force like Anton Chigurh, stripped of all restraint, be even more dangerous? I dive into what makes him the ultimate nightmare in my video, Anton Chigurh, the most terrifying movie villain. No Country for Old Men on my channel. True dread might just begin there.